Hello, Annie.
Annie. Can we hear you?
We can't hear Annie.
What is it with you sound techs and musicians? You can't get a microphone to work on Zoom. None of you can.
I don't know.
Can you hear me
My
now?
setup. Yeah.
There we go, yeah.
Hello, Annie.
This is the Sheer Isolation podcast. It's presented by Kieran Moore and Jon Ponting.
Welcome to the Sheer Isolation podcast. Thank you for joining us once again. Hopefully it'll be a little bit cooler when this is being broadcast compared to what it is now, because we are absolutely baking. Absolutely.
See, I'm wilting. I'm wilting, John. Yeah. I don't know how much more I can take. I'm like the vegetable patch in my garden.
This is the kind of day where I'm quite happy there's no live music on, because I don't want to be stuck in a stuffy venue when the weather's like this. Unless you've got aircon going.
Yeah, even in a pub garden, it'd be too hot, wouldn't it?
Which has made me think, do you know Mr. Wolf's in Bristol?
Yes.
I went there, this is a couple of years ago, and we had similar weather conditions, and they had that aircon turned down to like 10 degrees. It was the coldest gig I have ever been to the point we had to go out in the break and warm up.
You have to go out, and as you walk out the doors, you get hit by this wall of heat. Yeah. Like you're playing in Spain or something. Yeah. Let's
look at your product placement, shall we? Because I can see it to the side of you.
I can. Well, actually, I should have a record by Stay Voiceless, who I think we played on one of the early episodes. And I bought the record, and it was due to be delivered, and then because of COVID, factory's shut and everything's been delayed, I don't have a record. So I actually don't have a product placement. But what you can see is my Spilt Milk magazine, which I flipped around to the back. So I don't have a product at all. I've got nothing to share with you.
It's good to promote Spilt Milk. So that's from Courtney, yes, who was on the show 2 weeks ago, last week?
2 weeks ago.
2 weeks ago.
So Spilt Milk is still going. The next issue is not out yet, so it's still got time. But I should have Stay Voiceless. And unfortunately, I don't have that vinyl. But when it comes, it will definitely be played, and it'll be sat behind me, and we'll talk about it. But it's meant to be here. I've got the digital download. I just haven't downloaded it yet.
Just on that point, if anybody does want to go back through our back catalogue of podcasts, because there's coming on for 20 in there now, it's all on YouTube, so you can search Sheer Isolation, and every episode will pop up. There is also, and we don't promote this enough, there is a YouTube playlist which covers. It includes every track we have ever featured on Sheer Isolation. So if you want to listen back to any track and you don't know where to look, just look for the Sheer Isolation playlist. And everything is
all on there.
Played.
And you've got a really eclectic mix, because some of it's like country, some of it's folk. We've got a bit of rock in there. We've got all sorts. It's really, really nice, good music.
Yeah, including this track we're going to play next, which is by a chap called Will Lawton. So some lovely piano work in this. The track is called Dust. Kieran, would you like to do the introduction?
Will came to me through Trowbridge Town Hall in Trowbridge. And I think his duo, because he does a duo called so he's Will Lawton, and then he does a duo with Weasel Howlett. I think they're called Lawton and Weasel and Lawton. I can't remember what the name of the duo is. It's their names basically.
Just blame the sun for the fact that your brain is just not working properly, because it's too hot.
Not at all. Way too hot. But when I first came across them, they're sort of sold to me as a sort of folky duo. I was like, okay, yeah, great. Actually, what it is Will, obviously, as you just probably pointed out, he's a pianist. He plays piano predominantly. And his drummer, Weasel Howlett, is a drummer. And they were just a piano and drums duo. And I would say that Will's got almost a Springsteen-esque to his voice. And there's definitely that kind of traditional application of songwriting in their music, which makes it sort of very traditional but like really crafted, is basically what I'm trying to say. It's not art rock. This is proper songs, properly considered and written. So this song is called Dust, yes?
Yes.
It's a good song.
I've been loved, I've been shamed, I have grieved and I've been blamed. I've been a shepherd and I've been a spy, I've been a victim and a shoulder to cry. I've given advice and taken it back, hidden in the dark, papering over the cracks. I've walked on water, been thrown through the air, and crushed by the ocean. As we spin around the sun, I'm just a speck of dust hanging on. I'll face my fears and I'll chase my dreams, and I'll pray to my God whilst on my I am a father and I am a son, I am a brother and I know how to run. I've been a lover and I've been a friend, and my story is not ready to end. I've been a vandal and I've been a thief, I've been a peasant and I've been a chief. I watched the sunset, I've seen it rise, listened to music down my spine. As we spin around the sun, I'm just a speck of dust hanging on. I'll face my fears and I'll chase my dreams, and I'll pray to my God whilst on my knees.
So that was Dust by Will Lawton. Cheers for that. It's a lovely little track by Will there. Definitely got elements of Springsteen in there, like I said, but predominantly led by him on piano. Great stuff. He's touring. He plays loads in this area. So no doubt, as soon as he can, there'll be gigs on the horizon for him.
Yeah, okay. Anyway.
John, I don't know about you, but I am flagging so much. I really need a cider in me or something cold.
You don't drink, though, or you rarely drink.
I rarely drink, but I haven't had an event for 6 months, so I've started on again.
Yeah, well, it's the weather, isn't it? So we're recording this in like 30+ degree heat. It is a bit warm, melting over here.
Melting. I'm just, yeah, I am. I look ridiculous and terrible.
Yeah, now we have got a guest coming on the show as we always do, and this week we have Annie Gardiner. So, Kieran, who is Annie Gardiner? It's not a name I'm familiar with.
So Annie Gardiner, yeah, so I came to Annie Gardiner through her band called Hysterical Injury, who were a two-piece, and it was the most beautiful little two-piece. It was her brother on drums and herself on bass and vocals. And Tom was previously in a band called Kicked In, who I used to put on in Bath back in the day. So when Hysterical Injury came along, I think it was like love at first sight. The very first time I heard one of the tracks, I was like, it just clicked with me. Just really driving drum and bass, basically, like art rock. Absolutely fantastic. But as I got to know Annie, I discovered she's like an onion. There's more layers to her. She's not just a musician, but she's also a writer. She does lots of writing for feminist magazines and stuff and so on. But she also does some installation artwork for various things. When she used to she still lives in Bristol. At a time when I was discovering feminism and learning about feminism, she was doing some of these works that obviously really triggered with me, really helped me understand a lot of stuff. So hopefully we will get that story out of her in a moment. And what I usually ask is the person we've got on as a guest to say, can you remember how we met? So Annie, do you remember how we met?
Oh my God, I was thinking about that earlier and I didn't come to a conclusion. I was wondering if it might have been through Charlie of Thought Forms?
Possibly through Charlie. I think she introduced me to Hysterical Injury, but obviously I met Tom because he was in Kicked In, wasn't he?
Ah, yes, he was. Maybe you met Tom first.
I did definitely meet Tom first.
Yeah.
So Tom was in Kicked In, and then
right.
you formed Hysterical Injury.
He did the original demos that I wanted to find a drummer for, because he wouldn't do it.
Oh, really not?
No.
Ah.
I mean, I pulled all kinds of sister jibs on him. And
wasn't happening.
It was no dice. It was like, yeah, you're just sad. So it was just like, but he did record the demos, and it took me about, 18 months to find someone that I really liked working with and that liked the music, and that was Lee Stone, the original drummer. So our 2 EP releases and the first album was pretty much written and recorded with Lee Stone. But then Lee left about 4.5 years in, and Tom replaced him, and then we re-recorded the album with Tom. Then
so by this point had Tom decided that actually you were quite a cool sister?
After he'd come to see us live a few times, he was like,
the penny drops. That's what it's about.
Yeah, exactly.
And so what were you doing other than the band at that point in your life? What were you doing? Because you were in Bristol, weren't you? You at Bristol Uni?
No, at that point in my life, I lived in Bath. My life was sort of dominated with quite a lot of really tough personal circumstances at that time. And the band was my one thing that, or at least the music I was thinking, that was the one thing that would kind of, that
hold it all together.
Mine, and that I could make friends with, if you know what I mean. I was so isolated at the time.
Well, the reason I ask is because I distinctly remember in the very early time of meeting you that you had done an NME art installation somewhere. So tell us more about that. What was that? What were you doing at that point?
Okay, so that was about 2012. Tiffany Daniels, the editor of Drunken Werewolf at the time, and some other kind of quite known Bristol ladies put Ladyfest together in Bristol. And this will be the second Ladyfest we played in Bristol. We played the 2009 one as well. And they had me doing sound on the Friday at the Sport, which is now the Sportsman.
Right.
So I did sound for Crash Paris. They were amazing.
I don't remember them.
Their merch, they had pants, like big fat knickers that they tie-dyed pink and marker pen Crash Paris all over their pants. And I bought a pair of those pants. I fucking loved them. I just thought that was the coolest thing in the world. They were fantastic.
There's an idea for merch.
Yeah, did sound for them, and sound for, I think it was I Am Horse that played before them, and they had a really complicated setup that night. They had about 10 of them on the stage, and then there was disco afterwards, and that was really fun, and it was really wonderful to be asked to do live sound. I usually do sound
Recording
stuff, yeah. And the second night we played, and we were playing with, who was there? It was Mary Epworth.
Cool.
Scrag. This Is the Kit. Rosie Plain.
Wow. Early show for them.
Yeah, it was a really good fun day. And then on the Sunday there was this art exhibition, and Tiffany had said, don't you make art or something? You know, can you make something? And I was like, well, yeah, I did actually do a fine art degree. And I think about a year previous, the guy from Ulysses, the band Ulysses, had given me his, Luke, his name was, he'd given me 20 years worth of NMEs from 1988 to 2008.
Wow.
And I was just going through them to kind of find new music, and I thought they're going to be useful. He brought them round in these sort of bundles. You know, it was like somebody, it was like someone very early in the morning chucking bundles of newspapers in the general direction of a newsagent. But I was carrying all these things up the stairs, and they were behind my sofa for about a year. And then Tiffany asked me to do some artwork for Ladyfest, and I thought, well, there's some NMEs.
What can I do?
What can I do? So I just thought, it's for Ladyfest, so let's just, out of interest, have a look to see how the balance is gender-wise on the front covers. And so I started sorting them into 4 piles of male, female, non-binary or whatever, but at that time I just said, I wasn't acquainted with that term at that time, but that's kind of what I meant. And then the 4th one was just not human at all, so like trees or something. Yeah. And as I was going along, you know, the pile, the male, yeah, I mean, it was as tall as me.
I remember the picture. I remember it.
I was like this on top of it, this sort of phallic statement of male coverage.
A phallic statement of NME.
Yeah. It was hilarious. My friend Wes, who was sort of managing us at the time, had this hilarious argument on our blog about with one of the editors of the NME from '91, I think. And his argument, which is often the argument, there aren't any women, you know, but it's often the argument. But of course there is. People just don't look. Just lazy. They just look at whatever comes through their PR box. I know. I've been a journalist.
There you go.
For a short while. Actually, that's what I was doing. That is exactly what I was doing when I started Hysterical Injury. I was in a band called Venus Pegasus, and I was the music editor for Decode magazine. How can I forget that?
There you go. See?
The weather. It's too hot to remember things like that.
It's too... Yes.
Yeah, it was a long time ago, and it's really hot in here.
Hysterical Injury sadly come to an end, 2 years ago now.
No, well, the story went like this. So we made our final album, and we did a little kind of big launch tour, a party tour with 3 or 4 dates, and that was our sort of goodbye tour, and that was last March, and it was all, you know, especially when we played the final shows, it was bewilderingly powerful. I think, you know, I definitely felt like the dragon was no longer containing me, and it left. And I sort of saw this beast, you know, the beast kind of...
As it left your body.
As it left my body, galloped off into the universe, and that was that. Thank you very much, and we were done. September rolls around last year, and I'm all despondent. I can't remember what I was doing. I think I was working on this album, this new one, actually. And I was this kind of... One of them days, you know, where I was just having a sort of existential crisis. This happens a lot in my life. And I get this text from Billy Fuller. All right, mate. Yeah, you want just an hysterical injury, want a sport beak in
that's right.
UK tour. I was like, what?
Well, obviously, you can't say no to that, can you?
You cannot say no to. Neither would I want to. Not only you can't.
Yeah.
I would want to. I love Billy's playing. I love Beat. I'm now with Matt, who was in Beat. You know, he's my true companion and true love in life, and like, so it's just so weird. It was such a weird moment. I was reading the text, going, "What? Like, honestly." I tried to palm him off with my new band a little bit, but he weren't having it. He goes, "Yeah, of course I'll listen to it," he said, "but we really want." So it was quite, he really, I said, "Okay." Phone my brother. My brother went, "Oh, all right then." And I was like, "Great, let's just play the album then." "Okay, great.
Yeah.
Cool."
Simple.
So Matt was like, "Oh, nice one." And so I said, "Yes, Billy." And he was like, "Great. I'll send you the itinerary." That was it.
Just like that.
Just like that. And I thought, okay, now I feel like a fool. I've got to tell all my friends that I'm like reneging on my very emphatic last gig, you know.
And did you find the inner beast on that tour? Because I didn't see that tour, unfortunately.
I found a new beast. It was definitely a new beast, because we thought the Beak tour should be just new album stuff. And it's a very different atmosphere, that album, from all the other stuff we've done.
It was definitely
very, very dark and very, very, very bright. So
I think it in that album as well, it also showed your development of your own personal skill in recording, because comparing to the previous album, which was a lot more straightforward, for want of a better word, all these different layers and electronica and all the rest of it all coming into that mix. I was like, massive leap.
Yeah, it was a massive leap, and you know, then it was another leap to try and get that working live, because obviously I played guitar all over it, and we're just a bass and drums band. I just sort of smothered it in guitar, and so I was like, oh shit, how are we going to get this out live? So we just we cherry picked the ones that were the easiest to do live. We did use samples. We used samples. We used sort of
triggers,
slightly different vocal effects and stuff like that, and it wound up sounding very, very different to what people, at least over the years, have recognised Hysterical Injury to be. It wasn't so much big, orange, cute vocal on the top. It was like dark.
Is that the official finish of Hysterical Injury?
I think she's sleeping.
Okay, right.
I think she's sleeping.
So, in which case, that brings us nicely to your new solo project.
So I've got two kind of projects on the go, but the first thing I'll release is a solo album under my own name.
Just Annie Gardiner.
Just Annie Gardiner, and I just got my 3/4 size nylon string guitar that my dad gave me when I was about 13 years old, maybe earlier. And I thought, right, 3 chords and the truth. I love that way of writing.
Do you want to introduce the song you've chosen this week? Who have you chosen and why?
That's a track by the Hanson Family called Weightless Again. And that track is another one of those tracks that I go back to again and again and find new emotion in it. I don't want to say meaning. I don't think it's meaning exactly. It's like it hits me again, and you know, it's very physical, kind of you know.
Wow.
But just the chorus of that song. You gotta hear it.
We stop for coffee in the redwood forest. Giant dripping leaves, spoons of powdered cream. I wanted to kiss you, but I wasn't sure how. Like those Indians lost in the rainforest, forced to drag burning wood from the Golden Gate Bridge. Anything to feel weightless again. Those poor lost Indians, when the white man found them, most died of TB, the rest went insane. In our motel room, you're drinking slice and gin, reading Moby Dick on the other bed. Remember the first time we slept together? You said it felt like when you learned to float. This is why people OD on pills and jump from the Golden Gate Bridge. Anything to feel weightless again.
A bit of news that's been in. It has. I really can't talk today. It's too hot. But
It's
then-
way too hot.
It is. A few days ago,
Yes.
there was the Red Alert campaign, and all kinds of sound tech people and people from the industry who it's their profession to put the lights on and get the sound pumping. They did marches through Manchester and I think a couple of other cities as well.
London, yeah, Manchester and London.
And some of the more significant venues, they changed all their lighting so it was red to signify Red Alert.
Comedian in Bath did that.
Which one, sorry?
Comedian in Bath did that. Turned all their lights red.
Their lights are red anyway.
Well,
It's
a lot of
big
effort there,
red
was it?
letters, like an old-fashioned cinema.
I know a lot of people put empty flight cases on the steps of Parliament as well, and on the steps of in London. So basically, not like as a barrier, but have people have to walk through them. So it's like a real statement, like you have to walk around, navigate around this, basically art installation on the steps, which I thought was really, really poignant as well, because obviously the majority of the music industry is self-employed. It's a pretty unregulated industry, in all honesty. And a lot of these people are I'm self-employed as well, technically. It's not my living, so I'm quite shielded from it. But I know an awful lot of people who are self-employed and, as a consequence, struggling. This goes beyond venues, obviously, out into all the staff and all the people that make these things work. These people haven't had steady employment, certainly not in the music industry, since February, March. So I know a lot of people have been doing delivery jobs, etc., to get by. But obviously, that's not their skill set. That's not what they enjoy doing. They are basically the skills that are the grease that hold the industry together and keep it going and keep it happening.
We just need to say if any bands do want to contact us, then our email address is sheerisolation@gmail.com, so you can send us some tracks on there. We just asked that you have a YouTube video just so we can feature it on our video version of the podcast. You've got a nice collection of tracks to rummage through in there, Kieran, so that keep you busy one evening this week.
I was literally rummaging through it half an hour ago.
And with that, we will end this podcast. So it's been lovely to chat to everybody. And next week's guest, tell us about next week's guest, Kieran.
Next week's guest is Trey Stead, and Trey is a tour manager. She's not Southwest based, but obviously because of the, as we talked about earlier, the recent protest march that's been happening, we thought it'd be apt to have Trey in and talk about her experience with lockdown, not out of work, what she's been doing instead of because of COVID.
It's been an absolute pleasure speaking to you next week, mate. Toodles.
Bye!
Kieran, that was so professional of you. Well done. Nice.
Look at that. I can do it when I've got pina coladas.
Because he got pina coladas.
Dun, 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 dun.